Hare Krishna, Mataji. Are you able to see the screen, Mataji, PPT?
Yes, Mataji. Section 4, 517 to 526.
Yes, perfect, Mataji, perfect. That's it. Okay. So today, yesterday we ended with who are the three doers till Shloka 16. So today, from 17 to 26, we will see in this section liberation by focus on the super soul. So now we'll focus more on the how we get liberation by focusing on the super soul. That is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one who, in knowledge, devotionally fixes his consciousness on the super soul and remains materially equipoised attains liberation in the near future. So they are saying if you fix your mind on Krishna and you remain neutral to all the dualities, anything in this world, you are just on a steady platform. You don't overreact or underreact. You are steady. You are equipoised. Then you will get a liberation in the near future. That is, you'll go back to Godhead. Okay, so now let's see, like from Shloka 17, what do they say? Mataji, can you please recite Mataji 17?
Yes, Mataji. Shloka, Hare Krishna, Shloka 17. Tat buddha yes.
Tad Mataji, Tad Buddhayas.
Tat buddhayas tat atmanas
Manas, Atmanas.
atmanas tannishthas parayanaha gacchandi abunaravartim jnana nirdhuda kalmashaha.
Haribol. Wonderful, Mataji. Please also read the translation, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, so here, what are they saying? This verse, it basically explains about like when a person he completely fixes his intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge on Supreme Lord Krishna, then what happens? He becomes fully purified from all doubts and misunderstandings through complete knowledge. Okay, when he gets that complete knowledge, he comes out of ignorance, all the doubts, misunderstandings. And what is that complete knowledge they're talking about? That Krishna is the supreme transcendental truth. And one thing, all the Vedic literatures, they also say one thing in conclusion. What are they saying? All the Vedas, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the highest reality. He is Paratattva. Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the absolute truth. That is Krishna. He is realized in three stages. We already discussed many times. First is impersonal Brahman. Second is localized Paramatma. Third is Bhagavan, Krishna, the full, complete personality, supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, so Krishna himself states that nothing is superior to him. So nobody is equal to or greater than him. Okay, after all, even the impersonal Brahman is resting on Krishna. Okay, so the impersonal Brahman, that is the first stage of realization, God realization. So that impersonal Brahman is nothing but the effulgence that is coming from the Krishna's body. So Krishna is telling that impersonal Brahman is also resting in me. So what should we understand? So a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness, he becomes washed of all misgivings. So such a person understands a very important point. What is that? The soul is one with Krishna in quality. Okay, but still an individual different person. See, the soul is one in quality. The other day we discussed, right, the achintya beda beda tattva. See, the soul is one in quality with Krishna but different in quantity, right? The quantity wise the difference is there, but quality wise we have all the qualities that Krishna has, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. And we always maintain our individuality. In chapter 2 Krishna says, right, you were an individual, I am an individual, all these soldiers and kings, they are individuals and they will remain individuals. And they were in the past, they were present, they are, and in the future also they will be individual. So this correct knowledge, with this correct knowledge, the devotee can become what? He can remain steady and move straight towards liberation. Okay, just like, see, the sun, it removes the darkness and allows us to see everything clearly. So Krishna removes our ignorance and he reveals who we truly are and who he truly is. Okay, so we understand that we are soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And who is Krishna? Okay, he is also individual, we are individual. Okay, so when we understand that, we focus on Krishna. I mean, like, the soul is the servant of the super soul. It means that what is our natural swabhava? We are Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nityera Krishna Das. So we are servants of Krishna and we find happiness only when we serve Krishna. Okay, so let's go to 18, shloka number 18. Okay, this is an important shloka. We can memorize this shloka. Mataji, could you please recite the shloka?
No, Hare Krishna Mataji, yes.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Shloka 18. Vidya Vinaya Sambanne Brahmane Gevihastini Shuni Shaiva Shwapake Cha Shwapake Cha Shwapake Cha
Perfect.
Panditaha Samadarshinaha.
Wonderful, Mataji.
Hare
Please,
Krishna.
translation, Mataji.
Translation: the humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahma, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So
Hare
we can see in the picture, right? There is a humble sage who is seeing he's seeing everybody equal. A chandala is there, elephant is there, a brahmana is there, a dog is there, a dog eater is there. So everybody, a cow is there. He's seeing everybody equal. Okay, a learned person, he sees everybody equal. How is it? He sees. That's what they're trying to say here. See, a humble sage, um, he sees a learned brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog eater, all he sees with equal vision. So a Krishna conscious person, he does not judge based on, like, what species he is, what caste he is, what social position he is in, what type of body, whether he's dark, black, white, fat, thin, tall, whether it's Hindu, Muslim, nothing. He doesn't see all these outward bodily designations. Why? Because all bodies are material, they are created by the modes of material nature. Okay, but what is the thing that the learned person sees, the Krishna conscious person sees? Inside every body, there is a soul, Jivatma is there. And who else is there besides the Jivatma? You can see in the picture, Paramatma is also there. Super Soul, Lord Krishna is also there in every living entity. So therefore, he understands, he sees that differences in bodies are temporary. See, outwardly cow, Brahmana, they are just, bodies are temporary. After this life, they will leave this body. But what is permanent? That soul inside that body. So he recognizes that. So he understands that differences in bodies are temporary. The spiritual identity that we are soul is the same in quality in every being. See, in cow also Paramatma is there, soul is there. In Brahmana also soul is there, Paramatma is there. In elephant also Paramatma and Atma is there. So he identifies that. He does not give importance to the external body, which is temporary. Okay, what is permanent is the soul and Paramatma. So to that he gives importance. So he knows that, and in the purport, Prabhupada he gives the difference between soul and super soul. Okay, the soul, it is like present as in, I mean, what do you say? Only one soul is present in one body, and in Paramatma, he is present in everybody. Okay, our consciousness is very limited. Soul's consciousness is very limited. Okay, but the Paramatma's consciousness is unlimited. Okay, we are small. Paramatma is Vibhu, he is big. Okay, we are the same quality, but quantity wise we are different. Okay, that we have to understand. So a Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of that Krishna, he lives in everybody's heart as Paramatma. So every living being is spiritually related to Krishna. They are part and parcel of Krishna. He understands that. So that's why, because he sees Paramatma in everybody, he respects everyone. He sees everybody with an equal vision. Okay, so he is truly learned and is compassionate. Okay, so if Krishna, he understands that if Krishna is in everybody's heart, then mistreating any living being is like disrespecting Krishna himself, right? If you are scolding a dog, it means you're scolding Krishna himself. Why? Because in that dog, that Krishna as Paramatma is there. So if you're scolding the dog, it's like you're scolding Krishna himself. So he understands that. Okay, so that's why he gives respect to everybody, seeing the soul and the Paramatma within that body. That body is temporary, but the soul and super soul, they are permanent. So he gives importance to Paramatma, and he sees Paramatma in every living entity, in every body. So that's why he sees everybody with equal vision. So same thing is explained here, 17 to 18. Okay, so 19th shloka, can you please read, Mataji? You are on mute, Mataji, we can't hear you.
Sorry, Mataji.
Yeah, no
Hare
problem,
Krishna.
Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Shloka 19. Ihaiva tairjitaha jitaha
Sir,
sargo Hare Krishna, Shloka 19. Ihaiva tairjitaha sargo yesham samye stitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः.
Hari Bol, Hari
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Wonderful, Mataji.
Shall I
Please
go
read
ahead,
the.
Mataji? Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So now, what are they saying in this? Trying to say in this verse? So a person who remains equal-minded in all situations is considered self-realized. Okay, so who is equal-minded? So what does equal-mindedness mean according to the purport that Prabhupada has written? It means he does not identify with the material body. He knows his soul and he's free from attraction and hatred. Okay? And his mind is steady in all conditions. Okay, so this equanimity, this is the sign of liberation. Because of the above three symptoms, this shows that he is in a state of liberation. So, what happens when one achieves this stage? So, he has conquered, when he has achieved this liberated stage, it means he has conquered material life. He is no longer controlled by birth and death. He is considered already liberated. And after leaving this body, he can surely enter into the spiritual sky. Okay, and here in the translation, Prabhupada says they are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. So, what does this mean? How is he flawless like Brahman? Because the Lord is flawless. There is no problem in God. I mean, there is nothing wrong. There you can find no mistakes. Okay, so the Lord is flawless. So he having no attraction or hatred. So when a living entity gives up attraction and hatred, so attraction means what? It's like attraction towards sense gratification, and hatred means what? Anger. When you don't get that sense gratification, you get anger. So these two, if you can give up, he becomes flawless like Brahman. Brahman means God. Okay, so a person with equal vision, so what happens? Is free from material conditioning. He has overcome the fear of death and rebirth, and he's already situated on the Brahman realization. Okay, because he's steady, so he's though he's staying in this material world, he is liberated. Okay, his liberated qualities are, what are his liberated qualities, like what are the qualities of such a person? So we'll see in the next verse, coming verse. Let's see what they're saying. See, symptoms of a self-realized person. Let's see what those symptoms are in shloka number 20. Can you please read, Mataji, other side the shloka 20?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Shloka 20. न प्रहृष्येद प्रियं प्राप्य विजेद प्राप्य चाप्रियं स्थिर
Sapriyam.
चाप्रियं स्थिर बुद्धिर असम्मूढो ब्रह्मवित् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः.
Hari Bol. Wonderful, Mataji.
Hare
Please
Krishna,
read the
Mataji.
translation also,
Okay,
Mataji.
Mataji. The person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the sense of God is already situated in transcendence.
Hare
Purport.
Krishna.
Prabhupada's purport.
Yeah. So here now the symptoms they are telling. What are the symptoms of a self-realized person? So what are those symptoms? He does not think he is this body. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not become happy when he gets something pleasant. That's what they're telling in the translation. So when he does not get what he wants, he doesn't become unpleasant. Okay, so he does not become, okay, sorry, he does not become sad when he loses something unpleasant. Okay, when he loses something, I mean, like when he gets a loss or something, he's not like, he doesn't feel sad. He does not feel unpleasant. So he's always steady in he's steady in intelligence. He's sthira buddhi. Okay, he's never bewildered about his real identity. So he knows that he's the soul and he's not the body. Okay, so he I mean, like So he has complete knowledge. What knowledge does he have? He understands his constitutional position. What is his constitutional position? Jivara Swarupa Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das. He is the servant, eternal servant of Lord Krishna. He knows that. And he knows the science of absolute truth. He knows that about Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, the three stages of God realization. He knows that. So this means that he knows the complete truth. He knows that he is soul. About himself, he knows. And then about Krishna, the three different stages of God realization, he knows. So he knows the complete truth. So, what is the result of this understanding? He becomes self realized. His steady and correct consciousness, this consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Okay, so let's see. So, what are they trying to say? A truly self realized person remains steady in happiness and distress. Because, why? Because he knows that he is not the body, but an eternal part and parcel of Krishna. Okay, and this understanding, this strong understanding itself is called Krishna consciousness. So he knows he's not the body, he knows he's the soul, and his eternal position is servant of Lord Krishna. He is an eternal servant, eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. So this is Krishna consciousness. So he does devotional service to Krishna. Okay, so this is 20. So we've seen the symptoms of a self-realized person. Okay, so we'll see again some more. Oh, I think the shloka is not given here. You can please read the translation of 21, Mataji.
Okay, Motherji. Hare Krishna, Motherji. Motherji, today also this audio is only available. Your video is not available, personal.
Oh, okay.
Only slides. Sorry, Motherji, I forgot to tell you. And just now only I am just noticing it.
Okay, I'll just see once again, Mataji. Why can't?
Now you are visible. Now it is video has come. But earlier also it was there. But when it was started sharing the screen, what happened? I don't know. When you went online with the slides.
Okay. Okay, that's what even I'm not knowing, Mataji. I don't know what to do.
Just try once again, Madaji. Yesterday it came. Today, but it is no. It was
Yeah,
not.
now you are able to see, Mataji.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second.
But please start live streaming, then we'll see. Yeah, it is there. Now it's visible. Video is there, Madaji. I can see you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reminding.
Actually, okay, Madaji. Thank you. Actually, I forgot for the 3-4 slogas. Just now only I remembered after seeing yes. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's why.
But I don't know. Same thing I did. Now I'm able to see. You are able to see, but I don't know why earlier you were not able to see. I don't know, Mataji. That's what I was
Yesterday
wondering.
from beginning till end it was there. You know, we were just checking whether it was there. Yesterday it was there, Mataji. But today now only it came.
No problem. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay,
Just
thank you,
keep
Mataji.
reminding me, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So please, you can read the 21, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Shloka 21 translation. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So, what they are saying in the shloka is, see, a liberated and a self-realized person, he does not seek material sense pleasure. He's no longer interested in all these material objects, sense gratification, because he has developed a higher taste. He's got a higher spiritual taste. So, what does he enjoy now? He enjoys a higher internal spiritual happiness. By how? By remaining absorbed in Krishna. So every time, like he's so much, he got a taste in spirituality that he enjoys chanting, he enjoys reading Krishna's books, he enjoys hearing Krishna's pastimes, he wants to serve devotees, he wants to serve Krishna. So all Krishna conscious related activities, he's got that taste. So he's always immersed in all those activities. Okay, so what are they saying here? Okay, the this self-realized person, he's not attracted to sense pleasure, and he enjoys pleasure within himself, and he's always in trance. Okay, and he gets unlimited happiness by concentrating on Krishna. Okay, he's self realized, he has that self-realized happiness. Okay, so we see one example of Yamunacharya. Prabhupada gives in the purport of this shloka. It's a real life example of Sri Yamunacharya. Okay, so he is the guru of Shankaracharya. So he experienced ever new pleasure in Krishna. So because of his absorption in loving service. Okay, why he experienced that the new pleasure in Krishna? Because he was absorbed in loving service, always serving Krishna. Okay, and because of which he has developed that spiritual taste. It becomes so strong that he is no longer interested in material pleasure. Okay, so this is the test of spiritual what do you say, realization. When you lose, what is the test? You lose a taste for material pleasure. That, and what is the highest material pleasure in the material world? It is sex pleasure. So you lose taste for sex pleasure. When your interest in spiritual realization increases, you lose taste for sex pleasure. So the example of Yamunacharya is given here, how he gains so much transcendental pleasure by serving Krishna, because of which whenever he thinks of sex pleasure, he tells sex pleasure is the highest material pleasure in the material world. Okay, whenever he thinks of sex pleasure, he spits in disgust. His lips curl with distaste. He gets so, he says yuck, like too. He says, we spit no Mataji. When we don't like something, we spit from our mouth. So whenever he thinks of that sex, he spits because it's so distasteful, he thinks, in front of all the spiritual taste. Okay, so this is the real test of spiritual advancement. So material pleasure becomes unattractive and devotion becomes tasteful. It increases day by day, and then we get true happiness. Okay, so a Krishna conscious person becomes completely liberated from the attraction to sense pleasures. He's not at all interested in sense gratification. Why? Because his mind is fully satisfied in a higher spiritual pleasure, in loving Krishna, and doing loving devotional service to Krishna. Okay, see here in the example in the picture, we can see Haridas Thakur. See, this prostitute, she has come to Haridas Thakur to enjoy with him, to have sex pleasure with him. But Haridas Thakur, generally, like normal persons, they would get attracted by the prostitute. Generally, if a prostitute comes in the night, nobody will be able to resist. They will give in. But Haridas Thakur, he got a higher taste, spiritual taste, because of which what he told the prostitute, you please wait, I will surely fulfill your desire. But see, I just have to finish my rounds for this day. I have promised my guru that I will finish these rounds, then only I'll be able to do the next activity. So you please sit down While I keep chanting, once I finish my rounds, I will give you my association. So like that, he keeps on chanting, and it becomes morning. Now the prostitute, she thinks that, oh, everybody will see, and then she just leaves. Again, next day she comes. Again, she says, I want your association. Then again, Haridas Thakur says, yeah, and see, I still have to finish my rounds. Please let me finish my rounds. Definitely, then after, when once I finish, I will associate. And then again it became morning, the prostitute left. Again she came third day. Again Haridas Thakur, she asks, please give me your association. And Haridas Thakur says, see, definitely today I've finished my rounds. I will definitely give you my association today. And then he starts chanting, chanting, chanting. And this lady, she keeps sitting there and she keeps listening to this chanting. All these 3 days, she's listening to the chanting, and finally she becomes purified herself. She falls at the feet of Haridas Thakur and she says, what sin I was about to do in front of such a great person like you. And then she falls and she cries at the feet and she tells who sends him and everything. Then Haridas Thakur says, I know everything, but still I would have gone long back from you or from here. But I wanted to change you. I wanted to make you Krishna conscious. That's why I stayed all these 3 days. Now he says, she says, now please initiate me, please accept me as a disciple. And then Haridas Thakur initiates that lady, that prostitute, and then from then on, she also starts chanting 120, 192 rounds like Haridas Thakur. So we can see how spiritual taste dominates material taste. Okay, the sex pleasure, he was not at all interested in sex pleasure. He was so interested in chanting Haridas Thakur. So we all should also try to come to that stage. So now let's go to shloka number 22. Mataji, can you please recite 22 shloka, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna, Shloka 22. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आदि अन्धवन्दः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः.
Wonderful, Mataji, wonderful. Very nice. Please read translation also, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kundi, such pleasure have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
In them, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So what are they saying here? The senses are so powerful. See, in this example, in this picture, if you see the animals that are given here, one sense is highly powerful that they got destroyed. They lost their lives. But for a human being, all five senses are dragging each sense in each different directions. So what should we do? See, now in the picture you can see, right, the fish, though it has plenty of food in the water, it eats the fish. The fisherman, he ties a worm or a fish and then he strings the rope and he puts it into the river. So the fish in the water, it does not eat all the fish food that is available in the water. It comes and eats this fish, and because of which it gets stuck. So this fish has the sense of the tongue is so powerful. It died. And deer, its sense of hearing, it gets so much attracted to the music. So one sense organ only, hearing, it gets attracted to the hearing of the hunter's music. The hunter is very clever. He blows music in such a way that it attracts the ear of the deer. The deer, it becomes so mesmerized, it forgets that it is going to the hunter. and then it gets caught and it gets killed. And the fireflies, they get attracted to the light, the sight, seeing. Okay, they get attracted to the light. They know that so many moths will go into the fire, they will die. They see, but still they get attracted by that light. So they also die. So sight, only one sense organ, that is sight, seeing, they die. And in this like bee, smell. The smell of that flower, it gets intoxicated. Okay, and it goes into the flower and it smells, and it stays there only. And then in the night it gets closed, and in the night time we know that elephants, they come and trample the flowers and it dies. See, so each of this animal, the sense organ, only one sense is powerful. They had to end their life. And then in the middle you can see the elephant. Elephant is sense of touch. It gets so attracted by the hunters, to trap a male elephant, they train the female elephant. So the elephant, it feels like touching the she elephant. And the she elephant is so trained that to bring him and put the he elephant into the pit. So it comes, and the elephant finally falls in the pit and it gets trapped. So, like this, all the senses, hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, tasting, all this one organ itself is so powerful, it is causing so much damage. In a human being, all our senses, all senses are pulling us in all directions. So, how horrible is that for us? Okay, so that's what they're trying to compare here. So what they're saying, what is the main teaching here? See, a truly intelligent and wise person, that's why he avoids material sense pleasures, because they are sources of misery. Okay, we should try to avoid them, but how? Not artificially. Okay, but we'll see. So we'll see why material pleasure is rejected. See, material pleasure comes from bodily senses, and body is what? It is temporary. So, obviously, the pleasures are also temporary. Okay, so, but what does a liberated soul want? He wants everything that is eternal, permanent. Okay, he knows that sense enjoyment only causes pleasure as long as he is there in this material world. Okay, so the beginning and end of sense pleasure means what? They cannot truly satisfy the soul. He understands that they are temporary and it cannot truly satisfy the soul. So, what does a wise person delight? So, a wise person, he does not take pleasure in all these material pleasures. Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada gives, what is the alternative he takes? He knows that real transcendental pleasure comes from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, he's called, Krishna is also called is called as Rama. Rama means what? One who gives pleasure. So even in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see what is the instruction they give? Human life should not be wasted on sense pleasure, which is equal to hogs who eat what? Stool. Okay, but is eating stool pleasure? But for the hog, it is pleasure. But even like that, we human beings think like the hog who eats stool. We think this sense pleasure is good, like how the pig thinks stool is good to eat. But is it really good to eat stool? No, right? Similarly, this the sense pleasure is also, it is temporary. It is not worth it. Okay, so that's why you should perform austerity, penance, purify your existence. That's why we do sadhana, right? To get purified. We do chanting, reading, hearing, all devotional service we do. Why? To purify ourselves. Why do we do all this austerity? We to purify ourselves. And then after getting purified, once we get that taste, we experience that bliss, happiness. Okay, so that's why they're saying the more one runs after material enjoyment, the more misery one receives, and the more one remains trapped up in material life. See, if you're attached to sense gratification, obviously you are attached to this material existence, because you always suppose for instance you're attached to your family members, and at the time of death you remember your family members and you leave your body. So what happens, your consciousness is on the family members, so next janma again you will come, because your consciousness was on your family members, so you may come as a dog or a lizard or a cockroach in their house because of that attachment. Okay, so that's why a wise person, he rejects temporary measurable sense pleasures, and he strives for unlimited transcendental happiness. How? By purification and devotion to the Supreme. Okay, so that's very important for us. Okay, so Hare Krishna, we'll go to 23. Hare Krishna, Mataji, can you please read the 23rd shloka, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Shloka 23. Tolerate agitation till the end of life. Shaknodi ihaiva sodum pa
Prak.
प्राक् शरीरविमोचनात् कामक्रोधभवं वेगं स युक्तः स सुखी नरः.
Wonderful, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, what are they saying? We will have desires. We will feel like having sense gratification. That's why, what should we do? We should tolerate. We should tolerate the urges of the material senses, and we should control our desires and anger before death comes. So, we should be, before death comes, what should we do? We should be well situated in spiritual life. So, if you're in spiritual life, obviously you are happy in this world. That is what we want, right? We are looking for happiness. How can we be permanently happy? If you're situated in spiritual life. And why this control is needed? Okay, for steady self realization, one must control the senses. Okay, so if you want to practice spiritual life, your senses must be steady. If they're jumping here and there, they are disturbing, you cannot focus on your chanting or whatever spirituality you want to do. So for that, first your senses have to be steady. So you must control your senses. So what are the senses that you must control? What are the things that you have to control? The way that your talk, anger, mind, you have to control. The stomach, the genitals, the tongue. Okay, these you have to control. Okay, when material desires are unfulfilled, what happens? Anger. Right? When our desires are not fulfilled, what happens? We get angry. So, what happens because of anger? It disturbs our mind. How we become red in anger, right? They say your whole blood boils and your face becomes hot, and the yeah everything your whole body is like trembling and shivering, and it's like you can notice that your blood is boiling. It is very unhealthy. So the mind, the eyes, the chest, and everything, they get disturbed. So that's why you should control your desires and anger to remain peaceful. Okay, and in the purport, Prabhupada talks about Goswami. We should be like Goswami. Who is the Goswami? One who controls the senses and mind. He is not a servant of the senses and mind. He is the one who controls the senses and mind. Okay, so he rejects sense gratification. Okay, and he lives a strictly restrained life. I mean, like a strict sannyasi life away from sense gratification. Okay, so such a person is a Goswami. You can control his senses. He is a true master of the senses. He can control his senses, like whatever. It's like he can say, if he can order the senses, don't do this, means the senses don't do. So much control he has over his senses. See, like for example, now we are in Krishna consciousness, but earlier we used to go to restaurants. Now suddenly, because you have taken to Krishna consciousness, people like us, what we do, we can't give up all of a sudden, we go. But a Goswami is such a person, like his senses are so under his control that if he thinks that no, I don't want to go to restaurant, so no, that's it, he won't go. His senses are under his control. So our senses too must be under our control, like that, like a Goswami. So for that, it needs a lot of practice. That's why we have to do sadhana. Okay. So so that's why to be happy and spiritually advanced, what must one do? One must conquer the desire and anger. So both this desire and anger by controlling the senses before leaving this body. So we have to control, tolerate the desires and anger before we leave this body. Okay. So here, what are they saying here? And how long do I have to tolerate the pushing of the senses? See, what are they saying? Till what time do we have to tolerate this pushing of the senses? Until one must, until when? So, until the death of the body. So, we must tolerate, we must control the senses till the death of our body. And where one gets the strength to tolerate the sensual urges by focusing his happiness activities and goal inward. See, that's why artificially we should never give up the senses. I mean, like we should not suppress, saying that no, 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 I will not go to the restaurant, like that. We should not artificially suppress. What we should do, we should engage our senses in Krishna consciousness. So, what we can only prepare, suppose you want to go to the restaurant and eat samosa or biryani or something. Okay, what we can do is how by Krishna conscious, how we can change it is we can prepare the same biryani at home, offer it to Krishna, and have it happily. No, who is saying don't have biryani? Outside we are telling not to have, because we don't know what consciousness they're preparing that biryani in that restaurant, whether it is hygienic or how they are preparing, with what consciousness they are preparing. So all that will enter into the food, and it is not offered also. So that's why we say, we never say don't eat, we say eat, but you prepare it at home. When you prepare it at home, your consciousness is like you're Krishna conscious. You will be hearing to a kirtan or a speech about Krishna, and you'll be preparing the food. So the consciousness enters into the food, and that same food you're offering it to Krishna. And then after it becomes prasadam, you have biryani. Enjoy. Who's stopping? The same biryani, that's what we are saying, don't eat outside because it spoils you. I mean, you get into more sense gratification. You get their consciousness mixes with the food, and you become more materially active rather than spiritually active. That same thing you only prepare at home, offer it, and then have it as prasadam. So, artificially, we should not try to suppress, but how? By focusing. So that is also happiness, right? So when you're eating prasadam, that is also biryani, right? That is what you wanted to eat, going to that restaurant, right? So same thing. So by focusing the happiness activities and goals, focusing on activities and goals inward. Inward means what? All spiritual activities. Okay, so he engages in purifying his external activities by working for the benefit of others. Then one is assured liberation. That's what we saw, right? I mean, sorry, that's what we'll see in the next coming shlokas 24 to 26. Okay. So please read the 24 translation, Mataji. I'll just zoom it so that you can see. You can see properly now, Mataji, 24. Mataji, you're on mute, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Mother, you can see now.
Yeah, please
I
read,
can
Mataji,
see.
24.
Sloka is not there. Only explanation, no,
Yeah,
Motherji?
yes, yes,
One
Mataji.
whose Hare Krishna, one whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme and ultimately he attains the supreme. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
You can see in this, thank you so much, Mataji. So we can see here, right, how these devotees in the picture, they are, they are totally Krishna conscious. We can see how blissful they are, how happy they are, focusing on Krishna. See the person here, he is holding the kartal and he is singing Hare Krishna. So he is so blissful. We can see how happy they are. So inward, they are just meditating on Krishna. They're chanting the names of Krishna and they are so much in bliss within themselves. Generally, people think that how alone you can be happy. We should always be with friends. We should go and roam out with friends and then only we can enjoy. But the devotees, they find happiness within themselves because they are attached. They think of Krishna inside. Say they chant when they close their eyes and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They get that inner spiritual happiness because what is the true nature of a soul? He is Jivara Swarupavai Krishna and Nityadas. That's what he is doing. He's serving the Lord through chanting. So he finds that what pleasure when he connects to the Lord inward, even though when he's alone. Like earlier, Haridas Thakur we saw, right? He used to just sit by himself in a cave and daily he used to chant 192 rounds and he was so happy. Okay, so that's what they're saying actually. See, one whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within, everything inside only because Krishna is there with him. So he is a perfect mystic. He is liberated. Though he is staying in this world, he is still liberated because he is doing Krishna conscious activities. Okay, so here in this shloka 24, they are trying to tell who is a perfect mystic. Who is a perfect mystic? Who finds happiness within and he acts and rejoices within. So that's what they're saying, right, in the translation. And he has an inward spiritual aim. So, such a person is, what are they saying in the translation? He's liberated and he ultimately reaches Krishna. See, how can one give up material engagement? See, one can give up only a material engagement only when he gets a higher taste. See, if you're riding a bicycle and he asks you to give up that cycle, means you won't give up. But if somebody comes and gives you a scooter or some motorbike or something, and then he asks you to give up the cycle, you will give up because you've got a higher taste. You've got a better than cycle is the scooter or bike because you have a higher one. So similarly, one how can you give up material engagement if you find something higher than that? So what is that? One must relish inner happiness. When we get a taste for spirituality, then we can give up that spirit material engagement. Okay, so without internal satisfaction, a person cannot withdraw from external material pleasures unless he gets that internal happiness. When he's chanting, he should reach so much taste he should get that he should think, oh, what, my 16 rounds are over so soon. Oh, I feel like chanting more rounds. So that is taste. Why should I chant only 16 rounds? I will chant more. Why 20? Why 30? Why 40? Why more? I want to chant more. So like that, he'll get that taste, inner taste. Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada says, what is the nature of a liberated soul? He enjoys real, factual, inner happiness. So they're happy internally, like Haridas Thakur is continuously chanting, 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 and he's getting that bliss from inside. Okay, and he can sit silently anywhere and he can feel full enjoyment within. Like Prahlad Maharaj also, Hiranyakashipu always used to say, see, why don't you go out and you always sit by yourself? You are always enjoying within yourself. You are laughing, you are enjoying, you are talking to yourself within yourself. You don't even play with your friends. You don't do activities like a small 5-year-old boy should be doing, nicely playing, doing all those activities. You're just sitting in one corner, you're laughing with yourself, you're talking within yourself. So Prahlad Maharaj was finding so much pleasure. Generally, children of 5 years, they think pleasure is in playing with friends. But Prahlad Maharaj, for them, that is nothing. He was finding internal happiness within himself by smaran of the Lord. So he used to sit silently in one corner and he used to chant the mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay, and he used to find inner happiness. So the such people, such devotees, they have no attraction for material sense gratification or material enjoyment. So this stage is called Brahma Bhuta, spiritual realization. Okay, so such devotees, they are guaranteed to go back to Godhead. Okay, so a liberated person, he turns inward, inside, for that lasting, permanent happiness, not outward temporary pleasures. And so, because of that, he is eligible, definitely eligible to go back to Godhead. So now let's see 5.25. Mataji, you are able to see Mataji 25 translation?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, fine. If you are not able to, please tell me, Mataji. I will read. If you can read,
No, I can read because
yeah,
the font is big now. I can read.
yeah, please,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yeah.
When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the found, fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in the spirit, he acts for everyone. The sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Mhm.
So, what they are saying here, who achieves liberation in the Supreme, who who are beyond dualities. Okay, dualities means we said, right, hot, they don't have experience any change, hot or cold, whatever the situation, they are steady, whether they are being praised or they're being hated, whatever, they are just steady. So they are beyond dualities. So they always, what these people, they engage their mind within Krishna consciousness. Inside they are always Krishna consciousness, and they always work for the welfare of all living beings, and they're all free from sins. Okay, but what is real welfare? The real welfare, who can do? Basically, one who is fully Krishna consciousness. He can do welfare for the whole of humanity, whole of the world, all of the living beings, because such a person knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, he is the supreme proprietor, he is the supreme friend. So what does he do? Because he knows Krishna is everything, he helps others reconnect with Krishna. So that is the highest welfare work. When he is connecting the lost child to the father. So we all are actually lost children in this material world. The devotees are helping us connect to our father, Krishna. Okay? So that is the real welfare work, the highest welfare work. Connecting the son to the father. Okay, connecting the soul to the super soul. But what we think generally, the physical welfare is not is the highest, we think. Okay, but that is not enough. Why? because that is temporary. Okay, whatever we do, the sacrifice or whatnot activities, building hospitals, all that we do is temporary, only till this body. Okay, so what is the real problem? The real problem is forgetting one's relationship with Krishna. So somehow or the other, we have to restore that relationship. Now we forgot. Once we came into the material world, we forgot Krishna, and we are busy enjoying with ourselves. We forgot Krishna. That's why we are suffering. Because when we try to enjoy ourselves, there is karma, right? Good or bad karma. So we have to suffer or enjoy those reactions. But when we do anything for Krishna, it is akarma. We get free from all karma and we go back to Krishna, to Vaikunta or Goloka Vrindavan, where there is bliss, there is only happiness there. Okay? There is no kunta there. Okay? So, what are they trying to say? A truly liberated soul helps others awaken Krishna consciousness. So, that is the real welfare. So, he tells everybody, he connects everybody to every living entity to Krishna. Indirectly, it means by practicing Krishna consciousness. So, because that was only the real welfare activity. Okay, now let's see 26.
Yes, Mataji, I can see this.
Yeah, please, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly enduring for perfection are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So they're saying who quickly becomes liberated in the Supreme. So those who are, what is they saying in the translation? Those who are free from anger, free from all material desires, who is self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection. So such a person, they are saying, is assured of liberation in the near future. Okay, that is what they are saying. So, why is a Krishna conscious person the best saintly person? Why? Because they're saying, see, even great sages, the rishis or all such people, they struggle to control material desires. We saw like, what is this? Valmiki? No, not Valmiki. I forgot his name. He married. God, I forgot his name. Well, there's one rishi actually. He gets tempted to one what do you call, one dance girl, and from heaven, and they gave a baby to Shakuntala. They gave so the even great rishis, they are not able to control their desires. But a devotee is who is engaged in loving service to Krishna, he easily overcomes the deeply rooted desires. Vishwamitra Muni. Sorry, I forgot. He marries Menaka. Menaka only, I think, yeah. And then they give rise. They get a baby Shakuntala. So even he did so many years, thousands of years of tapasya, but still, you're just hearing the ankle bells of Menaka, or I don't know, remember exactly who that lady is, and that's why his tapasya got broken. But devotees, they are so much engaged in loving service to Krishna that they overcome all these material desires, these deep rooted material desires. So that's why a devotee, he has a chance, he quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. So even in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that devotional service to Krishna, it uproots the desire for fruitive works. Simply you do devotional service to Krishna, nothing difficult at all. You just engage all your senses in Krishna. See, when you use your eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna, use your ears to listen Krishna Katha, Use your nose to smell the flowers that are offered to Krishna, and use your tongue to preach Krishna consciousness or talk about Krishna and taste Krishna prasadam. Use your hands for prasadam distribution, book distribution, or serving the Lord, serving the devotees, and use your legs to go to the temple pilgrimages. Simple. Isn't it blissful, happy when you go on a pilgrimage with devotees? How nice! From morning till evening, it's just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. You start with Mangalarti, then you do chanting, then you hear Pravachan, then you go on Tirthayatra, you travel all the temples, then you have Prasadam again, then again you travel, and then you have Krishna Katha, then Prasadam, oh Kirtan. Imagine how blissful. Just listening itself, we can taste that nectar. How about those people who are just going live and enjoying all that? Okay, Krishna consciousness is not at all difficult. It's a blissful process. Nobody see the prasadam. The best part of Krishna consciousness is anybody, they may like, they may dislike chanting, they may dislike reading, they may dislike hearing about Krishna, but everybody likes prasadam, right? Everybody, and there is no restriction in Krishna consciousness in prasadam. Any, we can have anything. No onion garlic. I mean, restrictions are like no onion garlic because it has to be offered to the Lord. You can eat anything, samosa, biryani, everything you can eat happily, just without onion garlic, and just offer it to the Lord by putting a tulsi and happily have it as prasadam. Whatever you want to eat, whatever sweet you want to eat, whatever hot item you want to eat, besides non-veg and egg and fish and all those, onion garlic, you can happily have everything. Okay, so that it's a really blissful process. That's what they're telling here. And here they're telling in the purport, Prabhupada says, how can the devotee progress even while far from Krishna's abode? See, now he is far from Krishna's abode, right? So for that, Krishna, he gives uh, three analogies in the purport. What example his method he's giving? Fish is there. Fish, how does it take care of its eggs? It cares simply by looking, that's all. By looking at the eggs, it takes care. Similarly, the devotee advances simply by remembering Krishna. So here, what does the devotee do? Though he's far from Krishna, he's simply remembering. When he's chanting, what is he doing? Hare, he's remembering Radharani. Krishna, he's remembered Krishna. Again, Hare, Radharani. Again, Krishna. So like that, he is remembering. When he hears the pastime of Krishna, Radha Krishna, he's remembering them. In Sankirtan, they are remembering like that. Like a fish, they are remembering. Okay, and next example Prabhupada gives is of a tortoise. How does a tortoise take care of its eggs? It takes care by meditation. It just meditates on the eggs. It's not near the eggs at all. It lays its eggs on the shore of the and covers it with mud, and it happily goes into the ocean and swims. And how does it take care of the eggs? By meditating on the eggs. Okay, so devotees also, maybe they are far from Krishna, but they are still nourished by meditation. So they meditate how? By chanting on Krishna's holy names. Okay. And birds. Next, third example Prabhupada gives is birds. How do they care? By touch. And how do the devotees do that? Devotees get connected through service. So just by thinking of Krishna constantly, the devotee uplifts himself. So what is the result of Krishna consciousness? When we practice, why do we have to practice Krishna consciousness? Because one main reason, we don't want to feel any material pain, miseries, distress, difficulties. And he is immersed in the Supreme. So this is called Brahma Nirvana. So it is the state free from Nirvana means what? No more pain, suffering. So this Brahma Nirvana means you are free from material suffering. So a fully self-controlled devotee is free from anger and desires. Desires means no sense gratification. Anger means because he does not get his sense gratification is not fulfilled, then he will get angry. Oh, you didn't give me. Look what I will do. Nothing. Anger, and he will have no desire, nothing. So, such people, they quickly reach liberation. Why? Because they're constantly thinking of Krishna. And when you think of Krishna, automatically your senses are engaged in serving the Lord. So, because of which all your material sense gratification, it gets uprooted, it's deep rooted. Okay, that is what we want, right? We want to lose all the interest for sense gratification, and we want to develop a taste, higher taste for spirituality. So that happens only through Krishna consciousness. So that is what they are trying to say. So next is 27. Again is a new thing, liberation through Ashtanga Yoga. So that we'll see tomorrow, Mataji. So we'll try to stop here for today.